I kind of begrudgingly respect just the dedication to not getting better at what you do for a living. Just coast through life.
It probably shouldn't even happen.
If you got it, you got to flaunt it, Acid.
You know what? I got a lot of stuff that I don't want to flaunt, so I just keep it to myself.
Jeremy is really big into the used mattresses. I think that's an excellent deal.
He has a used mattress store on the side. And we found out that Anthony's friends are all 13-year-old boys. Nice.
Whoever wins gets Acid's ball soap. Clay, how you doing?
Doing a little more poorly after that terrible introduction. I was just fine, to be honest with you.
Hello, Sci-Fi Gangsters. This is a show where we talk about science fiction, video games, and comic books, but really it's just an excuse for me to catch up with my friends and to meet interesting people. I'm Anthony Denar, media scholar and person who just loves being exploited by the game industry. I just love it. Microtransactions, all of that thing. So that's our topic for today. We're going to talk about monetization in the gaming industry. What's the best kinds? Do you like microtransactions? Do you not like them? Is it something that you completely neglect? Or if you're like me, Acid, whenever we see a skin that we love, we got to get it. We got to have it.
How the skins?
I saw that Cyberpunk in Halo, and I was like, yeah, I'm definitely getting the Cyberpunk. With the black and the neon pink and the neon blue. I mean, come on. And I've had that. I've been using that for quite a while. Anyways, that's what we're talking about today. The different types of free-to-play money-making schemes. We'll be talking about here what's the best, what we like, what we don't like, and that sort of thing. But before we begin, let's go ahead and introduce the panel here, including our special guest, Bloomer, who is on Twitch. Check him out, BloomerForTheWin. Bloomer, how you doing?
I'm doing super well, Anthony. Thanks for having me, as always. Appreciate being here, guys. And yeah, as a guy who has primarily been playing nothing but Pokemon Unite, which is technically a mobile game. I play it on my Switch, but technically a mobile game. I have a lot of thoughts and opinions on this one.
Nice.
Well, fantastic. Yeah, we'll be talking about probably our personal experiences with microtransactions, that sort of thing. Do we like it? Do we not like it? Is it something that we just can't avoid now because that's just part of the economy of the gaming industry nowadays?
Do we call it a necessary evil, maybe? Something like that?
Most certainly. And we'll be talking about that here. So BloomerForTheWin, good to have you. Also, my co-host, Jeremy. Jeremy, how you doing?
I'm good. I just got back from a little pre-Dragon Con weekend in Atlanta, which was nice. Yeah, so it makes me ready for the real thing.
You know, what's so funny about that is, the semester at Georgia State begins like a week or two before Dragon Con. So I'll have a couple of weeks to get that pre-Dragon Con experience going. Maybe I'll go to a Viva by Camille, enjoy a falafel, and just look around and get excited for Dragon Con.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time.
All right, well, fantastic. And good, Jeremy, good to have you here. And of course, the producer of the show, Acidtrain. Acid, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Busy as always. And not going to lie to you guys, the con depression has started. I'm ready.
The post-con depression has finally happened. Okay.
The post-con depression has finally happened. I'm ready to go back. So let's go.
Of course,
Combo Breaker.
Talking about your experience at Combo Breaker. This is probably one of your first official cons that you've been to. And I've for the past couple of weeks, I've been asking you, has the post-con depression hit? Usually it hits right away, right? I don't know if it happens to Jeremy, like the when you go back, maybe you're still trying to
week, 10 days. That's when it sets in.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because like you have so much. It's almost like eating like something spicy. Like you have a really good spicy meal, and then you're like, okay, I need a break from this spiciness. You give yourself a couple of days, and you're like, I kind of want to get some. I kind of want some spice. I kind of want that spice again. But it's good to hear the Acid that you're dealing with. The post.
I'm dealing with it. Okay. Okay. It's okay. It's gonna be all right.
It is a weird thing. It's kind of the same sensation of like going on vacation, right? Mm-hmm. If it's a certain amount of time, you're like, okay, I'm ready to get back. I'm ready to get back to, the normal routine. When you get back to normal routine, you're like, okay, this is kind of nice. And then after a couple of your days, you're like, man, isn't vacation wonderful? I wish I can go back to. But if this year's Dragon Con is going to be nearly as good as it was last year, then we will be in for a good time. And of course, Jeremy, our crew that we go with Dragon Con, it gets bigger and bigger, which always makes the experience so much fun when you have a big group of people. That sort of complicates things when we're talking about meeting together for meals, especially how crazy it's going to be this year. But we'll talk about that some other time. But once again, our topic for today is we're talking about the monetization and the gaming industry, primarily free to play, although slowly hardcore gaming has kind of gone in that direction as well, right? You've seen it with Warzone, you've seen it with Halo, where they offer the multiplayer for free because they know if they get you hooked, then you're more likely to spend money on other things like skins and that sort of thing. So it looks like the gaming industry is going in that direction anyways, but we'll be talking about that today. But before we begin, I think it's very important that I plug the website, sci-figangsters.com. You can check out Will Moon's, all his articles that he's been writing for us. Check those out. Also, you can check us out on YouTube. You can watch the live stream. We typically broadcast on Wednesdays at 7:30 Central. And then also we're in podcast form as well, wherever you get your podcasts. If you check us out on Spotify, there is a video format. So there you go. We did all our plugs. Like and subscribe and all that stuff. There you go. Boom.
Twitch.tv/BloomerForTheWin. Go now.
And of course, you can always check out.
I like that one. That's my favorite one. That's the best one out of all of them.
I can't tell you how many hours I spend there every week, Acidtrain. It's insane. I feel like whenever he's live, I'm there.
It's true. It's true.
And if you're going to watch anybody on Twitch, it's Bloomer for the Win. Check him out. Definitely.
Who now has, by the way, the more superior beard. Well done, Bloomer.
Yeah, it's a big moment actually in my world, Acid, to be able to look at. I mean, I remember when I was 13 and my beard looked like yours. It's fine,
I mean, it'll be back next week, but
Yeah. Yours grows fast, eh? Like your beard actually does come in super quick.
Yeah, realistically, it will probably be where it was before by Christmas. So
okay. Yeah. It's funny. I've never timed my beard growth, just for the record. Like I have no clue technically if I shaved it all off today, how long would it take to get back to this? I mean, I trim about an inch off every month, probably realistically. I don't know, inch and a half, something like that. So
yeah,
I don't know. Of course, if any of the ladies are watching, it's like 4 inches. It's
all the ladies are watching today.
Yeah.
Jess is watching, okay. Green is watching, Geek is watching. We got a crowd today, ladies and gentlemen.
Wow, a good looking crowd. Okay, nice. Okay,
and they're good looking. Geek's the sexiest one in the crowd.
Then.
That's our topic for today. Various forms of facial hair. All of us we're all represented here.
There's a loot box in there somewhere.
Whatever. Of course, I have the patchy beard. That's what I've always been going for ever since I could grow facial hair. It's been the patchy beard. That's what I've been going for. Fair. And by the way, the mole is gone. The mole is healing and good to go. The 2 moles that were on my nose are officially gone, and it seems like it's going to be good to go there. All right. So anyways, once again, today we're talking about the monetization of the gaming industry. But first, we always begin by catching up. All right. So I'll go ahead and begin. All right. So Jeremy, you know this. Acid, you also know this. This summer, I've had, besides writing my dissertation, of course, I have one of my main projects is I have officially jumped into creating my own cosplay. Now I bought a template online. Someone, I'll go ahead and give him a shout out. Tristan Maker is the name of his Etsy account. There you go. Etsy account. He's got a YouTube account as well, where he kind of demonstrates how to make things. I went ahead and sent him $25 to get his template. And I have been making a stormtrooper cosplay, but what I'm doing is I'm doing a venomized stormtrooper. As you may know, if you're someone who listens to this show, the only cosplays that I have done in the past has been Venom, primarily because I like Venom, but also each year I've been adding to the costume, and rather than starting completely over, I'm like, well, I'll just add different things to it. As you can see, you could see some various helmets and masks of Venom. But this year, what I wanted to do is I wanted to make a Stormtrooper armor set out of EVA foam, and then include the Stormtrooper Venom helmet that I bought at DragonCon last year. So I'm going to show you real quick. Here we go. All right, so this is what is for the audio listener. You're not going to get a lot out of this, but this is what I have so far. Once again, it still needs a lot of touching up. There's a lot of gaps. There's a lot of things that I learned in the process that I would do differently. But as you can see here, I'm going to do more as I kind of progress here. I'm trying to go for the tentacle look. So I have the Stormtrooper armor chest plate here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add more here later on, is I'm going to have tentacles coming out, like I'm actually sort of transforming, or it's just kind of tentacles coming out of the Stormtrooper armor here. This is just the chest plate. I have made the other armor pieces as well. The only thing that I'm having trouble with is the legs, because the template that Tristan created is for Tristan, and Tristan must weigh 109 pounds, because the dimensions for the legs are incredibly skinny. And he doesn't got these squatting legs, right? I don't skip leg day, right? So I got some thick quads. So I'm going to have to fix that, find a way to work with that. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to do that. So far, once again, here's my Stormtrooper armor set. I'm going to actually, as you can see here, it's pretty sloppy. I'm going to fill in some of the imperfections. Once again, this is the first time I've ever done this. I'm gonna fill in some of the imperfections with some of the molding stuff that I bought online. So as you can see here, there's a little bit of some gaps. Some of the glue I wasn't 100% patient with holding, because when you're using the concrete glue, whatever it's called, the cement glue, there you go. When you're using cement glue, you have to be a little bit patient with it. You have to hold it for a while. And if you're not patient, then it doesn't stick very well. So anyways, that's my chest plate here. I just wanted to show that off. I've been sending millions of pictures to Jeremy, so he's seen this before. So he's already seen it. But once again, I kind of wanted to show that off. Pretty excited about it. I'm looking forward to, obviously I'm going to paint that as well. So that's a whole nother process. So right now I'm completing, what the first part is, I'm going to complete the armor set. I'm going to fill it in with to make it kind of look more smooth, figure out the leg situation, and then once I'm done with that, I will go ahead and paint it. And then what I'm also going to do is I'm going to paint the Venom logo on my chest. So I'll spray paint that on there as well. So still got a lot of work. DragonCon is obviously in September, the first week of September. So I have a little bit of time. I have been working on it every day, a couple hours every day. It is a whole process in terms of using the rotary tool to sand out some of the edges and everything. So I make a mess. So every day I have to like unload everything, because first of all, Linda will not allow me to leave things out. That is not ever going to happen. And of course, I'm using the garage, and the garage is also our gym. So I can't leave the gym a mess. So I have to bring everything out, do my thing, and then I have to put everything away and then clean up afterward, because after I'm done, especially when I'm using the rotary tool, there's bits and pieces everywhere. So I have to clean up afterward everywhere. So it's kind of a whole process, I will say this is the one thing I've learned about, if you ever want to do your own cosplay with EVA foam, this is the number one rule. You have to get the right cutting material, or the cutting blade. The blade is everything. If you don't have the right blades, you're going to have a lot of frustrations. I ended up figuring out that a simple box cutter, like just getting a really quality good box cutter, is the best bet. Like at first I started with the very thin blades, like what do you call that? I'm not sure what you call it, but anyways, so the really thin blades and it just wasn't cutting very well. I was constantly having to sharpen it. And
Is anyone else just picturing Anthony with like a butter knife, just trying at the beginning? Like, why is this not working? Like, just
right. using scissors. No, but so,
Trying to break
once you find a good box cutter with blades that are easy to sharpen, it's so much more smooth in terms of getting some of these cuts, especially with some of the angle cuts that you have to do. So you have to have like an inward cut or an outward cut in order to get these things to stick together and do the shape that it needs to do. And when you're trying to do that with a thin blade, it could be it's very frustrating. So, and the rotary tool is a necessity. If you're doing this, you need a rotary tool because it's very important it helps with fixing some of the mistakes you make, and particularly when it comes to some of your cuts. I've been enjoying this process so far. I still have a lot more work to do. Jeremy, you've seen many of the pictures that I've sent you. So there you go. That's what I've been doing for the past weeks.
I gotta say, I know you said it's your first one, so that's even more impressive because of it. Because I was thinking the whole time you were holding it up, I was like, that looks so cool. I'd wear that just on stream, like straight up. I'd just be like, yep, it's my armor.
Well, thank you so much for the compliment. I will say, if you compare mine to Tristan's, his looks way better, like 100% better. He doesn't have, but I have a feeling that once I use the molding, whatever you call it, the filler, it'll look so much better. But I'm pretty happy with it so far. Once again, main issues is I've already had to sort of extend for my forearm because I have pretty skinny forearms too. So he must be really skinny. But of course, I got these biceps right here, so I had to extend it. Anyways, we'll kind of move on. For me,
we're having technical difficulties.
We'll go ahead. And for the COD piece, I'm going to have it run into a real big issue. I'm going to have to shorten it. So, Bloomer, what's new with you?
Oh my goodness, I feel like everything and yet nothing. So lots and lots of my main game, Pokemon Unite, has been happening lately. So that's been my primary stream thing. Every Friday we change things up with a little guitar playing. You can see I still have 1 or 2 guitars hanging behind me, and the rest of them are just hanging on the other side of the wall that you can't see. But yeah, a lot of acid. It's got to be about that at least now. Actually, I have 2. I just got 2 the other day as well over here.
Yeah,
so
they won't fit on the wall, so you have to lean them against your keyboard.
I see that. Like, you're not even wrong though right now, literally. But anyways, but going back onto the Pokemon train, I've started a team. We actually just got picked up recently. We started off as the Lounge Legends, and we're now officially sponsored by Wasted Potential, which Acid, I think you've dealt with that Wasted Potential in the past. So
indeed,
so we're pushing forward with that right now, which is pretty exciting. Team jerseys on the way for the whole team, and we ended up going into the Worlds. The highest we've come so far in a Worlds tournament was 32nd, which out of a few hundred teams. So I mean, we're still working on it. We're still wasting some of our potential, but it's been really an awesome experience. And what's really cool is, again, it's people from my community that have just gotten involved in this. And, a lot of people that didn't really have any esport experience prior to this, that now I feel like we're actually coming a long way. So far as that, even the casters for the Worlds, we have one of the casters coming to join me on my stream this Saturday to co-cast, do some because I always do custom matches where I let the community play and I just cast over top of it. One of the Worlds casters coming to join and hang out with me. So again, so much going on in that world right now for me that's amazing and fantastic. And yet, not a lot new going on. I play video games 5 days a week, and I fill in my weekends with any jobs that I can help pay the mortgage with, and that's really life for me.
Cool.
As exciting as my friend Oliver here.
As someone who has not played that game before, tell me a little bit about the game that you're playing and how does the team dynamic work with that?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we kind of lovingly but jokingly, but also a little too real, refer to it as my first MOBA. It's League of Legends, but stripped down. So I'm glad you like that one.
I like that one. That was good.
It's like a League of Legends Smite sort of style game, but then they take away certain complexities of it. Like there's no buying item system. There's no selling and managing your economy and things like that. It's purely based on leveling up through experience by defeating either the enemy team or just minions that are on the map. And at the end of the day, it's all based on your score. You dunk points on their base, they dunk points on their or yours. And at the end of 10 minutes, it's a 10-minute timer every match. It's whoever had the most points at that moment is the winner. There's a few, some people call them broken mechanics. At the 2-minute remaining mark, Zapdos appears. For any of my Pokemon fans out there, everyone knows Zapdos. He appears and he makes it so that you can get instant dunks. Points are doubled. And everyone on the enemy team that doesn't get the Zapdos, they all get stunned temporarily. So there's a few things like that that really shift the game, that make that end game really exciting. But it's a game that if you're someone who's ever thought to yourself, I like MOBAs, I think I like the idea of MOBAs, I want to try League, but there's too much going on, there's no way I can possibly pick this up and not hate my life while I'm doing it for the first 150 hours, because that's really what it is in those sort of games. This is the game for you. It is fantastic. It's amazing. It's entertaining. I think I've only ever met one person that I've recommended try this game that didn't instantly love it. And you can also play it on both Switch as well as mobile. So even if you got 20-minute break or a half-hour lunch or something at work and you want to get a game or two in, you totally can.
Nice.
Well, it definitely sounds fun. Just go ahead, Jeremy.
Today's episode is brought to you by Pokemon.
Yeah, 10 cent is hopefully going to give the check in the mail. And MOBA is a massive online battle arena, I believe is the official. And okay, I got the thumbs up from Acid. Perfect. And yeah, basically it's just any online game where there's multiple players fighting it out. So League of Legends, Smite, Overwatch is technically a MOBA, any of those style games.
What about Warzone? Has Warzone fallen there?
I haven't played Warzone enough to give you a where the MOBA aspect is. I would put that more as a first-person shooter, right?
It's as you're falling towards the ground.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, well, very good. We're learning all kinds of new terminology here. It's always good to get that. So, we're going to move on to Jeremy. Jeremy, what's new with you?
So I watched a couple movies that I've been. Sorry, excuse me. That I've been meaning to.
Sometimes you get a little bit emotional when you talk about.
I did get emotional with one of the movies that I watched, which was what's the Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, the Nicolas Cage meta movie that is sort of like Get Shorty. Like it was as good as I expected it to be. It was excellent. So I definitely recommend watching it. The other one I saw was Uncharted, which I thought was better than the reviews it got when it was in the theater. So my understanding was it didn't do too great in theaters. It wasn't very well received, but I thought it was fine for what it was. Tom Holland did okay. He's still a little young to me to play Drake, but he's charismatic enough that he kind of carried it. And Mark Wahlberg was great. Yeah, pretty much everyone. I enjoyed the way they played the characters. So I thought it was a fun little movie.
All right, so it seems like you enjoyed two movies. Have you not seen Everything Everywhere All at Once yet?
I have not. I will watch it once it is available somewhere.
And once again, I will say this. I've never cried harder during a movie than this movie. I mean, flowing from my eyes in company when you're actively trying to fight the tears because you're embarrassed. But I'm telling you, just like tears falling. Bloomer, have you seen Everything Everywhere All at Once?
Like I haven't, and with your description here, there's a side of me that's like, okay, I'm curious, but then there's the other side of me that's like, when do I get the house to myself that I can close all the windows and you know what I mean? Like I wanna have this on record. Oh, there's Bloomer
is
with
it
his
that kind of
manly
movie,
beard
Anthony?
crying.
So here's the thing. I don't want to spoil the movie for anybody, but okay. So the whole, if you've heard of the movie before, then you know it's about the multiverse and traveling through the multiverse and everything, right? So that's what it's about. So there's a lot of like fun action sequences. There's a lot of like silliness. There's a lot of like jokes and like really just funny moments in it, and like absurd moments in it. Obviously, the hot dog finger universe is supposed to be a joke, right? And the things that you have to do in order to be able to control going from universe to universe, you have to do things to yourself in order to travel to another universe. And the things that you have to do are absurd and very comical, right? But anyways, the whole movie is masking what it's really about. It's about your relationship with your family and your family disappointing you, like and repairing the relationships with the people in your family. That's all it's the whole movie's about it. Like it gets revealed halfway through. You're like, oh, all of this BS is all about the daughter wanting her mom to accept her. And once you get there, and once it kind of gets there, it's it hits you hard. I don't know, and maybe it's because I'm a father, and my relationship with my father is not the greatest, so I don't want to also have that bad relationship with my kids and be able to see like the repairing relationship. It just hit me hard. But anyways, I don't know what the whole thing. So once again, the whole movie's about. It's absurd. It's science fiction, but really, it's deep down. It's about your wanting your family to accept who you really are, and repairing, allowing your family to repair their mistakes. And once it hits, once you see it, for me, Linda didn't feel anything.
That's like emotionless, like nothing.
After the movie was over, like she looked at me and she's like, I was like, I was crying the whole time, and she's like, oh, I didn't really feel like. So maybe it hits people differently. But anyways, Bloomer, what I'm trying to say is, I highly recommend the movie. That's all I'm gonna have to say about that.
Jeremy, I'll put it on my list 100% from that. That was quite the sell. So I'm in.
Well, fantastic, excellent. Well, we're going to move on from me crying during movies.
Yeah, but I said the show also sponsored by Everything, Everywhere, All at Once.
Definitely. All right, Acid, what's new with you?
What's new with me? Other than the post-con depression, and it's not bad. It's just like I really like if it was happening in like a couple of weeks, I'd be there. I'd be like, I'm going. Like, sorry, I'm headed that way. I'm going back to Chicago. And I think what did it is because Steam, right now, also, we're sponsored by Steam today. Steam has a sale going on, their summer sale, and all the fighting games are on sale. Like, it's just crazy. So I'm like, I will browse for hours just looking like, oh man, look at all these amazing games on sale while I have 6 cents in my account. Like, what can I get for 6 cents? Which is crazy because you can actually probably get 4 or 5 games for 6 cents. I mean, the sale is ridiculous. But anyway, so payday's tomorrow, so it's gonna be really great here in about 24 hours. And I was kind of like, okay, well, Guilty Gear's on sale, and I don't have it yet. Tekken, I have Tekken, but I don't have the full version of Tekken with all the characters and stuff. I'm like, well, that's on sale, so I got to get that, obviously. So there's all this stuff just popping up. It's like, I really want this. I'm like, oh man, by the time Combo Breaker comes around again, I'm gonna have all these amazing games, and which one am I gonna play, and which one am I gonna compete with, and which one, and then just everything started flowing back in. So, so there's that. And then I guess other than me shaving my beard off, which is, every couple of years. I know I mentioned it last time, but every couple of years I'll do it. And it's I'm a lot cooler now. Not in retrospect of I'm a cool dude. I'm just, my temperature has, been reduced by several degrees, which is nice.
Well, you've always been a cool dude, so that makes sense, right?
It does. It does. Exactly. Yeah. I would not disagree with you. Bloomer speaks the truth when it comes to fellow Twitch streamers.
I just speak on behalf of the millions, Acid.
You should. Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
And you do a really good job.
Thank you.
Yeah. But I guess my newest thing is I purchased V Rising. I was really curious about it. And I really tried to get into Valheim. And I remember I played with Geek, and I think I played with you and a couple others. Y'all had like this huge town or whatever just built up already, and y'all had spent, millions of hours doing this whole thing, and it looked awesome and amazing. And I just, for some reason, I could not get into Valheim. I really wanted to, but then when I started playing V Rising, I'm like, okay, well, this is like Diablo style Valheim, and the building isn't as complex, so it was more my speed. Like it can be as complicated as you want, or it can be as easy as you want it to be, because the map is huge. I mean, it's massive, and you can have, I think, up to 6 or 8 people on the same server or something. I don't know, it's just so it doesn't crash or whatever. And you can buy your own server if you want to, and manipulate it however you want and that kind of stuff, which is really cool because it has no storyline that I've found yet. Like there's no story. You are a vampire, you wake up and off you go. Like there's no direction. There's like a little quest at the top to kind of get you going. Like, all right, first we want you to build this, and then you do that, and it's like, okay, well, next we want you to do this. But it's not like a story driven game. So I'm looking forward to this weekend. After the show, I'll be diving in this weekend to some more of V Rising.
Nice.
Well, very good. Sounds like we all had an eventful week, right? So we have Bloomer, playing all his various guitars that he has on his wall, right?
I can flex too, Anthony.
Oh, you can flex as well. Sometimes you gotta flex the bicep.
These are the guns. I got one really good gun and one weak one. This is my non-dominant gun right here.
Okay, I see.
It's so weird how only one of your arms is really big, Acid. Weird.
It is. Yeah, it's just this one. Yeah, I know. A lot of work goes into this one arm, and this hand is a little bigger too. Yeah.
We'll get that exercising going. Well, let's go ahead and get to our topic for today, and of course, that is the monetization of the gaming industry. We'll talk about free to play. We'll talk about the loot boxes. We'll talk about microtransactions. We'll talk about skins. We'll talk about in-game currencies, all that fun stuff. Now, Acid, when you pitched this topic idea, you mentioned that there are different types of monetizations.
I did.
Do you mind giving us the different types and describing what these types are?
Sure. Well, I mean, there's actually more types than what I sent you guys. I mean, Bloomer knows. I mean, just because he's more into the gaming world than y'all, just because experience wise. But the three main, I would consider these the three main types of microtransactions. So you've got your standard, I'm going to buy some in-game currency, and that's going to lead to me buying a cosmetic suit of armor or a sword or some decorations for my little in-game house or whatever it is, harmless stuff that, me and you, Anthony, love the Halo skins, they don't do anything other than, make your character look different, unique after everyone else buys it as well. Yeah, which you run into that problem too. And then you have that one layer, which that is, I would call the harmless layer. Like that's the harmless layer. There's no issue there. And then it gets a little deeper where you can still buy that same in-game currency. So like I'll use World of Warcraft for an example. World of Warcraft, you can purchase in-game gold, and then you now take this gold and you go to the auction house And now you can buy things that are actually going to change the way the game plays. So as a, max level character, I made it to max level. That's great. Okay. Well, now what? Well, now I need to grind all these dungeons and raids and stuff for all this gear. Well, not if you buy all this gold. You don't have to. You can just go straight to that auction house over there and buy all the weapons you need. If you've got endless amounts of cash, you can get endless amounts of gear. Same goes for the brand new Diablo Immortal. They have cosmetics, just like I said before. You can get all these cosmetics and everything. But now you can buy all these other in-game currencies to level up your gems, get different weapons, level up your gear, level up yourself. It's just this endless pay to win. And that is what everyone is so ticked about. And then the third major thing, which is the one I hate the most, are loot boxes. This also, which I will hypocritically say, because Hearthstone does this, Overwatch does this, a lot of other games do this, where you buy a set of whatever the box is, whether it be a pack of cards from Magic the Gathering, or a pack of cards from Hearthstone, or a bunch of loot boxes hoping for skins or whatever. And you open these loot boxes, right? When you open a loot box, you get 3 to 5 items, whatever it is, whatever the game is, and you can get weapons, you can get a certain card, you can get a cosmetic skin, an audio something, something that's going to help you in the game. I think a lot of mobile games do you can get ammo for opening all these boxes, or, health potions, or, whatever it is. Is it gambling? Is it not gambling? Should kids be able to do this? It's a rough area. And my opinion on that one, at least, is I think you need to be 21 to buy a loot box. I think you need to be 21 to open a loot box. If you want to purchase your in-game items in that fashion, by all means. It's fine. Do whatever you got to do. But that method, to me, is pulling the handle of the slot machine and hoping that you're going to get something. And it's, I didn't get what I wanted, so I'm going to buy more, and I'm going to pull that slot machine handle again and hope I get what I want. I hope I'm profitable with this. And it's just over and over and over and over until you have spent, and I can test for this. Hearthstone, every expansion, when I played Hearthstone regularly and had full collection and all this other stuff, because they release expansions every 4 months or so 3 times a year, I would spend at least minimum $300 to get all the cards. It doesn't have to be all the golden cards, because they do regular shaded cards and then the super shiny, animated cards or whatever. But just to get a full set so I could play any deck I wanted to, and then build whatever I wanted to, I had to spend about a little over $300 every 4 months, which is ridiculous. So, take that how you want it. But
that just kind of points to, I'm going to go to Bloomer here in a second, but that kind of points to, why they do it, because they must make a ton of money off of this strategy. So obviously things are different than it was back when we were kids, right? When we were kids, you bought a game for whatever it was, for the price of the game. Mm-hmm. And once you were done with the game, you were done with the game. Nowadays, that is not the case, right? You have seasons of game, of the game, right? You buy the game, and then you can just keep playing the game, depending on what the game is, right? Some games, once you buy the game, you play it a couple times, there might be a DLC, but that's it. But look at Call of Duty, Halo, Mech Warriors. They're just constantly releasing new content, because they know if we get people keep playing, if people are constantly playing, then they're more likely to buy things. If you're hooked, and if there's enough reasons for you to keep wanting to play the game, if the game's not boring, if we keep releasing new content, and you're continually engaged for a long time, then the more money that we can get out of you. So that seems like that has become the new economics of the gaming industry nowadays. And a lot of it was influenced by free-to-play games, because you have a free-to-play game, but in order for you to actually play the game, you had to put a little money into it. And then the hardcore games, if we're going to use that terminology, the quote-unquote hardcore games, they started to notice, hey, look, they're making a ton of money. So what we can do now is, we'll release our multiplayer for free, and we'll try to get you hooked. And once you're hooked, then you're probably more likely to spend more money, and we can actually get more money out of people rather than charging $60, $70 for a new game. What we do is we give it to you for free, but then we try to get you to spend $3 every week, and we'll actually get more money out of you. But Bloomer, I want to hear your opinion on this. What do you think?
So there's a lot to unpack here. This is a super deep topic, and like Acid went and did a great job at the beginning of this to kind of point out like there's multiple ways they do this. So, and very similar to Acid, there's ways that I think are more respectable than other ways. There's others that are, I'm a little, ooh, that's shady, and I don't like that. And one of the biggest indicators for me right away is if you can't get this, which is going to affect gameplay, not just the skin. Because again, for a skin, I don't care. If you're willing to spend $150 to make your CSGO knife have a jungle print on it or whatever, good for you for having that sort of exposable income. Because like,
Yeah, really.
wow, I wish, you know what I mean? Like, so the fact, I don't care in the least if they do that. It's when it's something that's going to affect the gameplay. So World of Warcraft, you can, like what Acid said, you can get gold, but then you can buy the sword that makes you stronger in arena. So when you're playing in arena, you now have an unfair advantage over someone who didn't have that money. They're trying to grind it out. That's kind of unfair. One thing I'll say that's a little different than what Acid said is because he hates the loot boxes, and I hate them, but I also think I've seen decent implementation of loot boxes in games. So I came from Overwatch and before Pokemon Unite, and Overwatch started off terrible. The loot boxes, it cost like $1 per or something. You get 50 loot boxes for $50. Expensive for what it is, but whatever. If you have the money, you want the skins. At the very least, it's not affecting the gameplay. It's just how cool do you look. And what they used to do is you just, it was gambling. Pull that lever, roll the dice, 100%. That's what it was. And you hoped, oh man, I'm really waiting for this one skin for my one character that I play. And that is kind of baloney, just to be honest. But what they ended up doing, because they realized there was a lot of backlash, people weren't happy about this. So what they did is they made it so once you had an item, it no longer was eligible in your loot boxes. You were guaranteed all the new items only until you've reached all of them at a certain tier. So once you got like all the blues, for example, but you were still fighting for gold things, anything that came up blue, they gave you money for it instead, which you can then, they never had loot box exclusive things. You could always use that in-game currency to buy the skins, as well as they gave you, every time you leveled up, they gave you an extra loot box. And there were a few different times in the year, like every time there's an event, they'd throw you 3 to 5 new loot boxes for free. And don't get me wrong, I understand that that's obviously the first hit is free. They're trying to get you to, oh man, opening those 3 loot boxes was great, but I didn't get what I wanted, so I'm going to buy 5 more. I'm going to buy another 10. I totally get that. But on games that are, and again, this is a little hypocritical because Overwatch, you did pay like $60 to get it originally. But games that are free to play, so looking at Pokemon Unite, for example, they do need a revenue source. As much as I wish that the world was built around, well, hey, Bloomer wants to play a Pokemon MOBA, so we're going to make that for him, and we're going to make sure the servers are active 24/7. They're a company, and it needs to be profitable for them. So I do understand there needs to be some source of revenue. So even though I don't love, so Unite doesn't do loot boxes, they do ridiculously expensive skins. Like certain skins cost you $40 to get for one Pokemon for one skin. I can't afford $40 for a skin personally. I mean, good for you guys if you can, but so I will just never get those skins. I can accept that. It sucks, but it is what it is. Every time they drop a $40 skin, I can't deny that I see that character getting played all the time with that skin for the next couple weeks. So obviously people out there are paying for it. They are buying it. So their market research has shown that this is the way for them to maximize their earnings. And especially for games like you were saying there before, Anthony, that have seasons and that like esport games, especially where they have prize pools for teams that are competing. And I mean, that money does have to come from somewhere. And at the end of the day, the ad revenue, it gets them so far. But unless every time I want to play a round of Pokemon Unite, they're going to show me 3 30-second ads that I have to watch. Well, that money to pay for the servers has to come from somewhere. And if it's coming from people that are willing to spend $40 for the latest Charizard skin and I get to play free of charge, could be worse, right?
Yeah, there's definitely a balancing act here between trying to get as much money out of people as possible without pissing people off, right? There's like, how far can we go before the community actually starts pushing back? And Halo Infinite actually had this problem, right? They were charging more and more money for some of these skins, and people, particularly YouTubers, started pushing back and saying, hey, look, this is too much. And they responded to this, and nothing has really happened yet, but like at least they said, hey, look, yeah, well, we get it. You know, you guys are not really happy with the pricing. We'll take that into, consideration next time. Right. And so we'll kind of see what happens here, but it's definitely, you could definitely see it's a balancing act.
Yeah. And I mean, sorry not to cut you off like that, but it's, it goes back to, first off, the value, but then secondly, again, the biggest thing for me is it going to affect the gameplay? If there's any way it affects the gameplay from if it's a competitive game in a competitive setting, then it can't be allowed. If you look at a game like, what is it, that Diablo game now that someone did the math and it was like $110,000 in order to max out your character? $110,000. That's all you're doing is preying on people that have, like Acid was saying, like gambling addiction at that point, or people that, again, more money than brains. Because if $110,000, if you told me, that's why I stopped playing Hearthstone, for the record, was because when I realized every expansion I was able to like scrounge together a $50 or $60 and throw it in, and I realized I didn't even have all the cards to make one proper deck, let alone any deck I wanted to play. So I very quickly realized I'd have to throw an extra $100, $200, $300 in every season just to have a chance to learn so that I could catch up with all these other people that were doing it. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I'm not in that mindset. Right now, for example, I have bought into Pokemon Unite a little bit. They've just recently put out a thing where it's monthly. You can pay about $10, and every day you log in, you get 40 of the premium currency, like 40 gems, which, through the month you end up, if you bought it just in a full pack, it ends up being like a 50% discount. Plus it gives you a skin, plus it gives you free rentals and a few other things. And even that, I'm like, that's $120 a year. That's a lot of money for a video game. But, I guess like I've justified that one to myself, even though I can totally understand why any one of you listening right now would say, that's crazy. I'm not spending $120 a year for a game. I can play for free, or I bought my $30 whatever Fallout 4 $20 edition or whatever. I'm going to play that for 1,000 hours instead of this. I totally understand all those arguments. For me, it's just that because I'm addicted to the game, because I love the gameplay, I'm okay with putting a little bit to keep those servers running and make sure that they do get a payout at the end of it all. I can't justify, again, when they're putting out these $40 skins twice a month, I just look at those skins and go, wow, how cool is that one? Anyways, continuing on with the naked skin, that's all I'm doing.
I would prefer, I think WoW. All right, so when World of Warcraft came out, there was huge backlash over, okay, well, I'm spending, I guess at the time it was $40-50 for World of Warcraft when it came out. And then on top of that, it was a $14.99 subscription fee to just be able to play the game. I mean, that got huge backlash when it came out, and everybody was kind of like, really? I'm paying for a game and I'm having to keep paying for this so I can play it. And of course, it was like you said to keep servers running and all this other stuff. And of course, it morphed into, I'm still doing the subscription fee, and now there's microtransactions, and now there's gold, and now you can buy the currency. I think ESO, as far as an MMO goes, has got it just about the balance, just about right. When you buy ESO, you can just play it. No subscription, no nothing. You can just go for it. No problems. You have an option to pay $14.99 a month, but with that $14.99 a month, you're going to get every month in your mailbox, you will get an amount of the in-game currency. You get a free skin, I think of your choice, if I'm not mistaken. And you get like this list, and you can just pick one, and it's yours forever. Even if you stop subscribing, it's yours. And a few other like in-game items and whatnot, but you don't have to do that. I mean, that's a complete option. I think that would work well in a lot of these other games like Hearthstone. Like, I would rather pay, call it $79.99, right? I will pay you $80 to give me all the cards. You don't have to give me the golden cards even. Just give me all the cards for that current expansion or whatever it is. And then now you can spend, I don't know, another $50-$60 for possibly upgrading yours to gold, or, in-game currency or whatever it is, or Hearthstone dust or whatever it is, So I think the subscription thing, as bad as it was when it started, doesn't look so bad now. I mean, when you like Game Pass, I think Anthony and Jeremy, y'all do Game Pass for like Xbox and whatnot. You can play all these games for however much it is every month, and it's endless. I mean, there's hundreds or thousands of games that you can just go and play, and you're paying, $9, $10, $15 a month or whatever it is. Play all those games all you want. It's fine. It's great. Have a good time. You don't have to purchase the game. You can if you want to, but you don't have to. You just play them. So I think, I don't know, all these microtransactions are getting a little
I'll let you guys keep going here a second, but I do want to get Jeremy's opinion on this because Jeremy hasn't said anything just yet. Jeremy, what you want to say?
So I don't have any experience with this topic at all. So I've never played any games where this is a thing. The closest I could relate is a situation where you buy the game and then, for $60 or whatever, and then they immediately drop a DLC that's another $20. Yes. Whereas I'd rather you just told me it was $80 from the start, and I'd have just got it out of the way. Mm-hmm. So I understand this annoying. I mean, they definitely do it because it is the most profitable way to do it. In all industries, they've figured out that death by 1,000 cuts earns more money than higher upfront fees. So I understand why they do it. It would probably annoy me if I were involved in any of the games that require it. But at the same time, I am a capitalist at heart, so I am okay with the fact they do it, and it would be one of those things of, if it were bad enough, I would just have to not engage with that community. If it was just continuously like that, because that it does get abusive. You do get people who have. I mean, one of the reasons I've never played these kind of games is because I saw one of my good friends get quite addicted to one. So I know that it does draw in a certain type of addictive personality. So yeah, I think there's definitely space in there for abuse of the system, but I don't know how you regulate it really.
Yeah, and I agree with what you're saying for sure, Jeremy. And what you said with the whole expansion drop, that's why Destiny 2 lost me as a player very quickly, sadly, because I loved the first Destiny. It was one of my favorite video games, and Destiny 2 came out for PC, and 1 month later came the first expansion. And if you didn't buy it, we're going to lock you out of some of the content you had before. And I said, pardon me, what? Never mind then. Like, nice playing you. And it's ironic because, again, I was really loving Destiny 2 as well. But I find like, so my thing is I'll keep relating back to Unite because obviously that's what I'm playing right now. That's where I have the most experience. There was a little controversy with it at the beginning about it being pay to win because people were saying, well, what you can do is you can buy gems, which you can then use to buy item enhancers, which you can enhance your items. They go up to level 30 and you can do that. And so therefore it's pay to win. And for the first 2 weeks that it was out, I guess you could make that argument. However, I'll be honest with you, at that point in the game's life, whether you had a level 1 item, whether you had a level 30 item, it was very, like, the difference was so minimal. And just by how the game progressed, you could get everything to level 20 fairly easily. And level 20 was the big power spike of the item. Like, that's when it was like, it's basically fully leveled. But then they give you an extra 10 levels just so the completionist like myself gets like, oh, I got +3 strength on this move, you know? Like, it's like the very minute things. But again, at top level, it makes a difference. Absolutely. So you could have argued that, but what they did a few things. First, they made it so as you played, you get 3 level 30 item enhancers. So you can give whatever item you want can just instantly be upgraded to 30, and any item enhancers you used on that item till then gets refunded back to you to put into other things. So right away, you could guarantee whatever Pokemon you were maining, whatever moveset you wanted to main, whatever with your items, you could have it maxed out. They also made it so that they have a championship mode. So if you're in scrims, if you're competing in like the worlds, anything like that, all the matches are taking place in this world, this Pokemon championship mode. And what you can do is you can set it so that every Pokemon's unlocked, every item is unlocked, everything is max leveled. All of that stuff is taken care of. So from a competitive standpoint, they eliminated any chance of pay to win. And they just made it so that, yeah, in the ranked ladder, it's true that, you know, if you're brand new to the game, you may not have everything at level 30. That's true. Absolutely. But if you're brand new at the game, you're probably not competing in a 5-stack at the 2.3K ELO that is like the top players in the world. And it's, you know, so it's not really making a difference in your game. Because I can tell you right now, if I jump into a beginner match or a veteran or expert, whatever the low rankings are, you give me one level 1 item that no one is even supposed to run, I can beat most of those players that are running 3 level 30 items that are the meta at the moment. Or because at the end of the day, the items are helpful, but really it's about understanding how to play the game. And like, that's far, far more important. So again, it's tough because there is that pay to win factor, but at the same time, it's not really a factor until you're at a point where it doesn't matter anymore, because everything you've just naturally, without paying a dime, have leveled everything up. And even if you hadn't, in the competitive modes, it's just automatically level 30. So I like what they've done with that. I still think that people need to be smarter. I think if they say this skin is $40, I think as a community, the whole community should say, no, we're not paying $40 for that skin. That's way too much. Yeah. And then have the, okay, when it's $20, okay, maybe you might be able to justify that if you're doing okay. $40, $45, it's too much. But like I said before, as soon as those new skins drop, like I remember a new Charizard skin dropped a while back that I loved it. He wears like this knight outfit. His wings have armor on it. It's so cool. 40 something dollars. I said, no way. The next like 6 matches in a row I was in, there it is, Charizard with that skin. So obviously they know people are going to pay it, and people speak with their pocketbook. And at the end of the day, if you pull out your wallet, you pull out that credit card and swipe once again, yes, 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 take money from my PayPal. Of course they're going to do it because they are a business trying to make money.
What I find fascinating is how the gaming industry experiments with different things and how it sort of adapts and changes over time. Do you remember when there was a time when World of Warcraft, where there was basically like an economy where you could just grind and sell things? Like you could be someone who just grinds gold and then sell and then get an item or whatever and sell it for money, and like you could live off of that. And it's so funny how like the gaming industry will like experiment with something and have like these crazy ramifications. So I remember, so World of Warcraft, when it first came out, they were experimenting with this, like this in-game currency where you could buy items that actually affected how powerful you were as a character. And there were people who would, literally just grind the game, get the item, and then sell it for money. And then there's a whole like economy based on this one element that was decided by the game itself. And there was a whole like pushback between like the gaming industry, like the fans thought it was cheating, like the grinders, and started like targeting grinders with harassment and that sort of thing. And there was a whole like racist element of it as well, because there was this stigma that it was Chinese players who were the most likely to grind and sell items. And then that became like this whole like racist thing. Do you remember that YouTube video in the early 2000s, like that racist Chinese video where it was, oh man, do you remember that? It became this huge viral hit where it was like talking about how like Chinese players only grind things, and it was played to like the that early R&B song. I'm sorry, I can't remember what the actual song was or what the YouTube video was, but I remember it being like extremely racist. But basically, like there was a stigma that it was Chinese players who were more likely to be gold miners, and like the gaming community targeted them and said, hey, like they were ruining the game. So like it became this whole thing, and like these weird real life ramifications came out of like just this game, the gaming industry just experimenting with stuff. And then like there's a big huge pushback, and then things change and they experiment with other new things. It's so weird how something as small and seemingly minuscule as a video game called World of Warcraft could have these huge consequences in the real world. I don't know. I just want to kind of find it fascinating.
Do you remember the Diablo 3 auction house?
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
When Diablo 3 came out, they implemented a real money auction house.
Yes.
Where players could go in and grind for gear, gold, or whatever it was, and then put it up on this auction house. And then another player, whoever that may be, can take their credit card and swipe it right there in the auction house and go, oh, there's that level 8 million weapon that I need for $6,000. I'll take that, of course that didn't last long because that was extremely abused, but yeah, it's the good old days, right?
Yeah, it's so crazy how the gaming industry will, let's try this out, and then oh no, this is happening. We can't do this anymore. It's just so fascinating how.
Is it sad that most of the games we've brought up are all by Blizzard Entertainment? Is that?
You were thinking that too, right? I was just like, wonder if anyone's going to make this connection anytime soon.
It's all Blizzard's fault.
No,
Jeremy.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, Bloomer. You go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say that. Never mind the whole Blizzard truth there, but is yeah. I mean, what you were saying about how it's so affecting in real life. It really shows a shift in our culture as a whole, doesn't it? That there was a time when maybe the kids were playing Super Mario 3 and like on a Saturday, but only for like 2 hours at the most. And then you got to go outside and do something. And like the few adults that played video games, it was like this underground nerd culture that like, you don't want to say it was shunned from society, but almost like, oh, like you play video games, like, okay. Whereas now video games are such an integral part of so many people, like everyone's a gamer in some capacity nowadays, whether it's they play a little Bejeweled on their phone or they, play 40, 50 plus hours a week of a video game. We all are part of that in some way. So when something that is a massive game like World of Warcraft, when it was in its heyday, I mean, even I imagine with WoW Classic coming out with Lich King at some point here soon, that's going to see a huge resurgence as well, because Lich King was such a good expansion. it does. It affects real life, you know, and I think some of these companies are almost being taken off guard, or at least they were a few years prior, that wait a minute, we were just making a video game and we were trying to make money. We didn't realize that there's actual laws and issues within this, like the whole gambling issue coming up. I very much so, well, I want to say I very much so doubt that they knew where they were going with this, but at the same time, maybe they did. Maybe they knew exactly what they were doing, and it's more nefarious than I want to believe. But yeah, there's a lot of real world consequences. It's a very big market now.
I mean, look at Mortal Kombat in the 90s and how much drama that stirred up in the courts and everything. I mean, just
Absolutely.
Violence in video games. When you thought about violence in video games in the 90s, Mortal Kombat was the game. And now look at it. And that nobody gives it a second thought now. And there's decapitation and all kinds of stuff. And everybody's like, oh, yeah, it was cool to see his head get chopped off by a shoe, you know, or whatever.
And nowadays, it's important that fatalities are a lot more easily performed than it was back in the day, because
that's right.
You know, you don't want to play Mortal Kombat and not do a fatality at the end of the match. That's ridiculous, you know?
Yeah.
By the way, I just Googled the YouTube video. It was Ni Hao. The name of the YouTube video is called Ni Hao. It is a parody of Smack That by Akon. But basically what the video is saying, that, you know, Chinese players are always going to be gold farmers, and they're ruining the game, right? And there's a bunch of racist stuff in the video, but people loved it. It was a viral hit. People love that video, and you can actually check out the video now. It's on YouTube right now, and people, if you look at the comment section, no one notices that it's racist, and they just like, man, wasn't this great? I love this video. But anyways, yeah. Is there anything else you want to say, Jeremy? We'll go ahead and let you say one more thing before we head out of here today.
I mean, really, the only thing I've thought is that, I mean, the things you are mentioning, to me, it just sounds like reality. So, I mean, it almost seems inevitable that a constantly online environment is going to shift to mimic, you know, the reality of day-to-day life. So, like the whole loot box thing, right? Carnivals have been doing that for 100 years.
And conventions at DragonCon, there's always those loot box at the vendor hall. Who buys those? Seriously, who buys those loot boxes that you know you're not going to get anything good?
I mean, it's like buying scratch offs, you know. I mean,
or mystery boxes.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
But, you know, like spending money to get better things, right? Like that's life. So,
I guess before we get out of here, the big question that I'd like an answer from each person is, because it's the title of the video, right? Loot boxes. Are they considered gambling? And should you have to be of legal age to purchase a loot box? Bloomer, what do you think?
Oh man, I know you're looking for a yes or no kind of sort of answer here. This is where it's tough because there's so many shades of gray.
At its core,
gambling.
At its core,
is it a form of gambling? At its core, yes. And should you be of legal age? I'm going to say of legal age, or I mean, I don't know how you get parental consent, but like signed off for it. But one or the other, yeah, I'd be fine with that. Out here in Canada, it would be 18. Yeah, I'm fine with that.
All right. What about you, Anthony? What do you think?
Depends on what kind of loot boxes we're talking about here. Is it a loot box where you actually have to buy the box? You're buying the individual box, or is it a loot box that you unlock? And
yeah, these are purchasing a box with real money and then opening that box. And I mean, we're just talking about loot box at its core. You're buying the box for real money and you're opening that box in hopes that you're getting what you want.
If you have to buy the loot box, if it's an individual sale where you're like, there's a loot box, I have to put money in, my own money in to get it, sure.
That is gambling.
Sure. It's gambling.
All right. Now, do you think you have to be of legal gambling age to purchase that loot box?
I mean, we're getting into a whole nother issue with like gambling, right? Sure.
Sure.
You
All right, Jeremy.
That's how I felt about it too, Anthony. You know, I'm like, yes, but
Sure,
like big asterisks is here. Like, let's talk this like there because there's
I'm just
like
just
so many
talking
things,
about
it's
at
hard
its
to be cut and
fundamental
dry.
core. You know, at its fundamental
Yeah.
core. Yeah.
So I personally, so we live in Alabama where it's illegal to gamble. I
Right.
personally believe that gambling should be legal.
But
we
you can
should
go on
tax
a
it.
gambling website in the state of Alabama that is held in Nevada or whatever and gamble from Alabama on that Nevada website.
I don't think you can.
Yes, you can.
I don't think you
I don't
can.
think it's legal.
But you
Like,
can.
you can do it.
You can.
Yeah,
They're not
you
going to
can.
come knock on your
So-
door. You
So
can
So
do
here-
it.
here's the thing. Like, so for example, fantasy football. If I wanted to do a daily fantasy football site, right? It asks you what state you're in. If you say Alabama, it will not let you do it.
Okay.
But like obviously you could try to find a way around that. But
Sure.
if you wanted to be honest and say, hey, I'm from Alabama, it will not let you do that.
Yeah.
Anyways,
But
Jeremy, I
Jeremy-
guess you're next.
Yeah, Jeremy, what do you think?
I don't know how to answer the question. I mean, from a principle perspective, ultimately gambling is just about hope and excitement, right? So there's lots of things in life that we spend money on the concept of hope and excitement. So under those principles, is it all gambling? Yeah, to a certain extent. And yeah, I don't, as long as you have the authority to spend the money, then I don't see any reason to require a age.
So none of this would be considered like a just going to Vegas and playing the slot machine.
I mean, maybe in like principle, but like from, for the fundamental aspect of what you're doing, I don't necessarily see the difference between what's, legally gambling and a lot of other activities. And again, you're not harming anybody. It's, you can make the argument that certainly it can be, there's people who are going to have tendencies to be addicted to it. And you shouldn't introduce it until the person's brain has fully matured. But if that's the case, then we're going to have to extend way past the normal legal limits because an 18-year-old brain is not matured and not fully ready for stimulus. So I don't think you're going to convince most people to wait until they're 30 to do a lot of these things.
And to just add on to what you're saying here, Jeremy, because I do somewhat agree with you actually, and it's that, again, if you look at a system like how Overwatch does it, to just pick apart your analogy a little there, Acid, is it would be like pulling that slot machine, but I got two fish and a cherry, and I'm looking for 3/8. But now pulling it again, there's no chance of the fish or the cherry showing up.
So
So
what you're talking about is like, because Hearthstone does this too. Hearthstone has it's called the pity timer. So you buy 50 packs of cards, and you're opening cards, 5 at a time, hoping for a legendary card. After so many packs, if you have not opened a legendary card, you automatically get a legendary card.
So it has that as well in Overwatch, but what it also has is, again, it would be like, and I don't remember Hearthstone cards, so but let's just say Leper Gnome. You got the Leper Gnome, or like whatever, the golden Leper Gnome.
Sure.
It now removes the chance of getting that Leper Gnome ever again.
Yeah, they do that with
every other thing.
Yeah, they do that with legendaries too. So
Okay, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, but I think from what I understand, it's just legendary. So like if I get a certain legendary and it's in my collection and I'm still opening packs, I will never get that legendary again unless I've already gotten all the legendaries. And at that point, it's now I can still get legendaries, but now are they going to be golden or not? So
yeah. And honestly, and that's so again, because I mean the slot machine. If I go to Vegas right now and start pulling slots, I might lose 1,000 times in a row with this, unlikely, but with the exact same, like, you know, two fish in a cherry over and over and over.
Yeah.
Whereas at least with these loot boxes, with this small implementation, at least there's something that says, hey, we're aware that at some point we're going to reward you. And don't get me wrong, still gambling in a sense. I completely understand that, and I agree. But devil's advocate, it comes down to, there is a certain amount of, again, if it's what Jeremy's saying, if you have the legal right for this money, aka I'm either an adult myself, it's hashtag my money, or my parents have given me permission. Like, here's my parents have legally like entered their credit card and have accessed this authority for $50 for this one-time payment. Why can't the kid? You know, like, I'm not gonna lie, my mom probably bought a couple of scratch tickets for me before I was 18 as well. If I scratched them and won $10, I gave it to her and she cashed it in. So
yeah.
Well,
very devil's
good.
advocate.
So the moral of the story here is that gambling should be legal. We'll use that money to give universal basic income for every citizen. Is that what we're talking about here? No?
50 free loot boxes.
What I'm trying to say is,
make it 100, we'll talk.
Okay.
You legalize gambling, you tax other things, and you give a universal basic income to every American citizen. Anyways, sorry. That's just, anyway, moving on. So that's our topic for today. We talked about monetization of the video game industry. We had Bloomer here as our guest. You can always check him out on Twitch. He's playing all kinds of video games, Pokemon themed. Bloomer for the Win is on Twitch. Acidtrain, he's always doing his thing, right? You can check him out on Twitch as well. And Jeremy, don't look for him. He's on. Just don't worry about him.
He's right here. If you didn't see him here, you missed him.
And of course, you can always listen to us every Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Central, and also in audio format wherever you get your podcast. I'm Anthony Dinar. Goodbye, everybody.
Oh, and don't forget to check out our show this Saturday at 7 a.m.
Oh, that's right. We have a special show.
Special show. Yeah, don't forget that. Yeah. All right, guys.